Dear friends, we are reflecting on the 7 last words or acclamations of Jesus on the cross. We have reflected on the first 2 acclamations, that is, Father, forgive them, they do not know what they are doing. And the second acclamation, today you will be with me in paradise. Friends, today we'll reflect on the third acclamation or the third words of Jesus. He's nailed on the cross and he looks down. There is Mary, his mother, and there's Saint John, his disciple, and he says to Mary, "Woman, this is your son." And he says to Saint John, "This is your mother." We find this in John chapter 19, verse 25 to 27. Let's read this. Meanwhile, standing near the cross of Jesus were his mother and his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Cleophas, and Mary Magdalene. When Jesus saw his mother and the disciple whom he loved standing beside her, he said to his mother, "Woman, here is your son." And then he said to the disciple, "Here is your mother." And from that hour, the disciple took her into his own home. Dear friends, when we imagine or we bring this entire scene in our minds, Jesus looks at his mother, looks at Mary and says, "Woman, this is your son." Why does he use the word woman? It sounds so formal. It's a formal address. But the scholars say that Jesus uses the language that is similar to the language of adoption proceedings. Jesus was the firstborn son, and so it is his responsibility to take care of his mother. So this implies that Saint Joseph was no longer alive. And Jesus makes this legal statement in front of 2 witnesses. As we have seen that there were 4 of them standing at the foot of the cross. There was Mary, the mother of Jesus. There was Saint John. There was Mary Magdalene and Mary, the wife of Cleophas. So when he's speaking to Mary, his mother, and to Saint John, they have 2 more witnesses there. That is Mary Magdalene and Mary, the wife of Cleophas. And these 2 witnesses, the presence of these witnesses makes the statements of Jesus formal and legally binding. We find this in the Bible itself. In the scriptures, in the Old Testament, in the New Testament, there are bases to say that there is a need of 2 witnesses to make it formal and legal. Like in Jesus' own arrest and his trial, we find it in Matthew chapter 26, verse 59 and 60. It goes like this. Now the chief priests and the whole council were looking for false testimony against Jesus, so that they might put him to death. But they found none, though many false witnesses came forward. At last, 2 came forward, and these 2 were the legal witnesses that led to the crucifixion of Jesus. Also, we find in John chapter 8, verse 17, Jesus himself says, "In your law it is written that the testimony of 2 witnesses is valid." And this entire thought of 2 witnesses, we find it in Deuteronomy in the Old Testament in chapter 19, verse 15. It says, "A single witness shall not suffice to convict a person of any crime or wrongdoing. Only on the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses shall a charge be sustained." So friends, here we see that Jesus has legally and formally given his mother in the hands of Saint John. If we reflect a little more on this entire scene, Jesus is in pain, Jesus is suffering, Jesus is nailed to the cross. And instead of looking at his own suffering, his own pain, he is thinking about the other. He's thinking of the loneliness of his mother once she goes home in the coming days. Even on the cross, he thinks of the sorrows of others. He does not forget the simple things. Dear friends, so many times we overlook simple things. And we plead the cause or we plead the excuse saying that I was so very engaged in something important that I've forgotten the simple things. Like for example, if our family is waiting home for dinner or they are waiting home for lunch, they are waiting home for me to come back. So many times I forget to inform, and I say I was so, engrossed in my work or so into something such important thing that I was unable to call you all or inform you all or just send a message to you all that I'll be late or maybe I'll not reach for dinner or lunch. We blame it on something important. Here we have Jesus who is saving the world on the cross, and still he remembers the little thing of taking care of his mother. How much more important things that we have than saving the world. This is Jesus who's giving us such a beautiful example here. Another reflection that we can have here is Mother Mary was entrusted to Saint John. And we know that Saint John is the only disciple who was not martyred, but he died a natural death. Peacefully he died. Maybe God himself preserved Saint John from martyrdom in order to take care of his mother. Dear friends, when we look around in the society, many children who take care of their sick parents, of their aged parents, God blesses them, God preserves them, and they even prosper in their lives and with graces. We find a testimony to this in the scripture itself. In Proverbs chapter 23 verse 22 it says, "Listen to your father who gave you life, and do not despise your mother when she is old." Saint Paul, in the first letter to Timothy, chapter 5 verse 8, he's a little harsh, but he's putting his point right through. He says, "Whoever does not provide for relatives, and especially for family members, maybe your sick father, your aged mother, has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever." Harsh words, but he has a point here. He says, or he wants to convey the message that anyone who leaves their parents who are sick, who do not take care during their old age, or maybe they put them in the old age home for their own convenience, God is looking out here. He's saying that person has denied the faith and he's worse than an unbeliever. Friends, we have here Jesus, who is a perfect example of doing the little things in a beautiful way. Even when he's suffering on the cross, even when he's in that pain, in that agony, when he's dying for the entire world, the most important work of all, he is thinking of his mother. And he legally and formally gives his mother in the hands of Saint John. He does not forget his mother even in his pain. So friends, we are called to care for our sick parents or sick relatives or anyone elderly, to look after them. Because Jesus himself is an example to us. So friends, these words of Jesus, when he's nailed to the cross and he looks down and tells his mother, "Woman, this is your son." And he tells John, "This is your mother." Let us reflect on this small passage, these words of Jesus today and this week, so that we grow in this compassion, in this love, in this service of Jesus. Thank you very much, and God bless us all.